Okay, and we are at the top of the hour, so we will get started. Hello and welcome. My name is Sherry Schwartz, and I am the program chair of the Bachelor's and Master's programs in Criminal Justice at UAGC. I am the host of this session, Boosting Student Success with Open Education. By joining us today, you acknowledge that this session is being recorded and will be shared with TLC-related materials. Microphones will be muted for this presentation, but we encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat. Also, we have enabled live transcription. If you would like to use it, click the live transcription button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Now, I'm pleased to introduce you to Cheryl Casey, who is the Open Education Librarian at the University of Arizona Libraries, where she has led open educational resource initiatives since 2014. She is a trainer for the Open Education Network and is an instructor for the OEN Certificate in Open Education Librarianship. And now I'll turn it over to you, Cheryl.
Thanks so much, Sherry. Yeah, pleased to be here. So welcome, everybody. These slides are openly licensed, and so if you would like to reuse these, please reach out to me by email. I'll have my email address at the end of the slides. So the theme of this conference has been open access, which can have different contexts. And some of the sessions I attended yesterday talked about open access admissions. In the library and publishing worlds, we look at open access as free access to scholarly materials. So this definition comes from SPARC, the free, immediate online availability of research articles that ensures anybody can access and use these results. And we saw this during the COVID pandemic, how important it was to share open data, open research to speed scientific discoveries and get closer to saving lives. Open education is related to open access. This definition also comes from SPARC. It's resources, tools, and practices that are free of legal, financial, and technical barriers that can be fully used, shared, and adapted in a digital environment. Open educational practices include open educational resources, or OER, and open pedagogy, which involves students in the creation of OER. So OER encompass a whole range of different material types, from test questions to syllabi, to videos, to textbooks, to entire courses. And yesterday, a panel from the University of West Florida gave a great presentation on OER. I'll try to complement what they presented yesterday and delve into some different aspects of OER and open education. So I understand from listening to one of yesterday's sessions that textbooks for UAGC students are included in the cost of tuition. That's not the case at the University of Arizona. A few years ago, I asked students with this prompt, if I didn't have to buy textbooks, I could ... And they gave some heartbreaking responses, like actually pay rent on time, live again and get sleep, survive, buy groceries, eat food, not work until 3 a.m. Another said not have debt-induced panic attacks. In the UA libraries, we've been partnering with our campus-owned bookstore for many years on course material affordability initiatives. And when I talk to faculty on campus, I like to talk about a spectrum of affordability. First, I encourage them to look at free-to-use resources like OER or unlimited user library ebooks, streaming video that we license, or articles and book chapters. After they've ruled out free-to-use resources, then I direct them to our partner at the bookstore, where they use inclusive access, which is also known as automatic billing. And then this fall, they rolled out for all main campus undergraduates a flat rate program called Pay One Price. So I see my role in the libraries as providing options for faculty. They're the subject matter experts. They're the experts on their course objectives, scope, and sequence. And so if free-to-use materials aren't available or aren't a good fit, then we look at these other options. It's the day one access to course materials that's really critical for student success. So with OER, there's a lot of confusion about what the OER actually are. sometimes people will say, oh yeah, I'm using the OER, and it will turn out to be a pirated textbook or something that the library has licensed. In order to be considered OER, a resource needs to be free to the user and give people the freedom to do what we call the 5 R's. So retain means that they can download or duplicate the content. Reuse means they can use it more than once in a variety of ways. Revise means they can change it, customize it, translate it. Remix means they can combine it with other OER or maybe their own materials. And redistribute means that they can share copies. It's really the customizability that sets OER apart. So there are lots of benefits to OER for faculty and students and institutions. Because they're free, they lower barriers to accessibility and affordability. The customization makes OER more relevant and tailored to the class. I emphasize own kids wait weeks to get books in the mail from Amazon Marketplace, and it's really easy to get behind quickly if you don't have that day one access. Open licenses and open pedagogy foster collaboration, and they also foster innovation, and I'm seeing more multimedia OER with offering students a real hands-on immersive learning experience. The sharing is really key. OER authored by faculty and students get shared with the world's knowledge commons, widening their impact. And last but not least, OER boosts student success. So a growing number of studies have shown that students who use OER perform as well or better as students who use commercial content. And a large study at the University of Georgia found that student success increased for all students when they had day one free access to OER, but particularly for Pell-eligible students, part-time students, and those from underrepresented groups. OER expand faculty's academic freedom by giving them options besides commercial course materials. With the ability to customize OER, faculty can rearrange the order of chapters, update with local examples, add photos, change the names so that they reflect their student population, incorporate their own materials, and much more. I'm happy to report that OER use is growing. In addition to awareness of OER. So according to a recent report by Bayview Analytics, OER use increased 7% in the 22-23 academic year, mirroring the growth of OER awareness. And it's great to see this increase from 5% usage in 2015-16 to 29% this last year, but there's still a lot of room for growth. In this half-hour session today, we can only just scratch the surface of open education. So I have created this OER toolkit that has a ton of resources for you. The bit.ly link is there on the screen, and I'll share the link again at the end of the presentation. But I want you to leave with a wealth of resources that you can refer back to. The number one question I get is where to find OER. There's no central repository, so it can be a bit of a treasure hunt. These are just some of the sites where OER can be found, and all of these are listed in the toolkit. In these next few slides, I'll walk through some of my favorite sites. For college textbooks, the Open Textbook Library is the first place I go. It's run by the Open Education Network, and it now has more than 1,350 complete textbooks. You can do the 5 R's with all of these. Most have faculty authored reviews, and it also lists textbooks in development. The Pressbooks directory is another great search tool. It currently features more than 5,900 open textbooks published across 162 Pressbooks networks. So if you have a Pressbooks publishing platform like we do at the U of A, this is a great place to find content that we can customize and clone. The directory also features these curated collections, so things like for high enrollment courses or on healthcare. And then the filters allow you to search by, say, language or interactive H5P activities. So we can see with this nutrition textbook, it has 64 H5P activities for students to check their understanding. OpenStax is my favorite OER publisher. It's a project out of Rice University. And for classes in science, math, economics, statistics, business, humanities, social sciences, or college success, it's a fantastic option. The 2E and 3E that you see on these covers mean these are second and third editions. OpenStax also has K through 12 content. And in 2020, they announced $12.5 million in new grant funding to double the number of books in their library to 90 titles. So the organic chemistry book in the lower right is one that used to be published by Cengage. It was a best-selling organic chemistry book. It's now freely available to anybody in the world. OpenStax is coming out with a new textbook on workplace software and skills. And they also recently added some Spanish translations. So OpenStax books come in a lot of different formats. They give users a lot of choice. All of the books are free to read online or to download. Many have free bookshare versions for people who are blind or have low vision, and low-cost print is also available at a low, for students who want that. Each OpenStax book comes with free resources for faculty, like PowerPoint slides, solutions to end-of-chapter problems. There's an OER Commons hub where instructors can share resources that they've created to go with each book. This Introduction to Business book that one of our faculty adopted also has course cartridges for various learning management systems and annotated video guide and a test bank. OpenStax offers editable docx files to make customization easy. And instructors just have to apply. It's an easy process to get access to things like the instructor's manual and the test bank answers. For faculty who want courseware for student practice or homework or quizzes and tests, OpenStax partners with 89 technology companies to make low-cost add-ons an option. And these are just a few of the companies they partner with. LibreText is another great OER resource. It's a project based out of UC Davis. And in 2018, they got a $5 million grant from the US Department of Education. So they have lots of different texts, visualizations, simulations, interactive things. They have Spanish translations and an OER remixer. They also have an open homework system called Adapt with My Open Math as part of the platform, and a workforce library. For other work in vocational development resources, Skills Commons features all kinds of workforce training materials for a range of careers. So more than 700 institutions contributed content to this. So it covers topics like construction, manufacturing, healthcare, IT, and more. For language learning, I recommend Coral at the University of Texas at Austin. So it offers materials in all of the languages listed in the lower left. OER Commons, you can search by subject or education level. It has hubs and groups for content from specific organizations and libraries. And it also has an open author tool for remixing OER. For OER by discipline, BC Campus publishes this great directory, which is regularly updated. And to search for free-to-use images, I recommend Openverse. It now has more than 700 million images and audio clips. There are several mega search tools out there for OER. The one that I refer faculty to is Oasis by Suni Geneseo because of its user friendliness. So you can browse by subject. You can also browse by material type. So if you're looking for podcasts or audiobooks or primary sources or interactive simulations, you can browse by that. It searches 115 different sources for OER. We have an Oasis search box embedded on our library's Find OER page, and a link to the widget code if you want to embed it in your own library guide or website is available in the toolkit. So once people find OER, the next question I usually get is, okay, now what can I do with it? And Creative Commons licenses are typically the way you figure out what you're allowed to do. So while copyright, Creative Commons licenses are some rights reserved, and it's Creative Commons licenses work with copyright, and it's up to the creator to decide how many rights they want to keep and how many rights they want to give away. So I won't go into depth on how Creative Commons licenses work. That but just so you recognize these symbols, the most permissive license is the one in the top left, CC BY, which just requires attribution. The most restrictive is in the bottom right, CC BY. NC stands for non-commercial, and ND stands for no derivatives. The two on the bottom, if you see those on a piece of course material, that is not considered OER because the no derivatives doesn't allow revising and resharing, and those are 2 of the 5 R's. That content's still free to use. So for example, TED Talks use the CC BY NC ND license. Even more flexible than content with the CC BY license is work that's in the public domain and free of copyright. Generally, if a work was first published in the US in 1927 or earlier, it's in the public domain, or if it was released by a government agency, it's often in the public domain. There are no requirements for attribution, but I always tell faculty and students best practice to attribute always. So you may see these 2 marks. Creative Commons is going to kind of focus on the CC0 mark going forward. So it's just notifying people that this is free of copyright and you can do what you want with it. Another option for expanding the availability of OER is Open Pedagogy. And as an added bonus, it engages students in active learning and turns them into creators of content rather than just consumers. So students can contribute to textbooks, they can create videos or test banks or podcasts or blogs, they can translate content, they can create graphics and explain difficult ideas in a more understandable way. There are also a lot of Wikipedia projects where students can go in and make Wikipedia entries more factually accurate, add citations, or expand the diversity of Wikipedia entries. The UA libraries and our Teaching and Learning Center, UCAT, launched the Pressbooks publishing platform in 2020 to facilitate OER creation and adaptations. Our platform currently has 270 projects and more than 1,400 users, and we have 9 completed projects in our catalog. So Humans or Social Media was the first big project to be completed. It's a great example of open pedagogy. The professor involved large gen ed classes in the creation of graphics and essays, audio clips, video clips, and glossary terms. And she really went out of her way to make sure students had a lot of agency in terms of whether they wanted their work to be openly shared, how they wanted to be attributed. So it's a really great project. And she's now collaborating on a new edition with the University of Colorado at Boulder. This other book is used in a lot of our gen ed classes by 8,900 incoming students. Because of the license, it has the no derivative, so it's not OER, but it's still free to use. And it features essays from across campus. And in 2022, this book was viewed 400,000 times and had 114,000 visitors. So the reach with Pressbook's platform can be really big. A few years ago, I did a sabbatical and did research on students' experiences with open pedagogy. So we did a survey and asked what they liked about participating in the Humans or Social Media project. Got a lot of great quotes about, gave me more incentive to make sure my assignments were my best product, felt like I learned more. I like how it puts students' voices out in the world. Yeah, working with faculty on open pedagogy is a really interesting opportunity at the University of Arizona. So there are some great resources for open pedagogy, including the new Open Pedagogy portal and the Open Pedagogy project roadmap. So you can find examples of renewable assignments in these. There are templates for things like student permission forms, lots of great case studies. So if you're interested in open pedagogy, I recommend exploring these. And there are lots of ways that your institution can support faculty in developing OER with one-on-one consultations with librarians or instructional designers by offering stipends to incentivize OER. We hold learning communities that have been really, really effective, and training and workshops. And then there are links to all of these in the slide deck. So lots of great resources. My takeaway message for you is that you can do this. OER and open pedagogy make education more affordable, accessible, and inclusive. The return on investment for institutions is huge, and so is the impact on student success. So I encourage you to take the leap and try piloting a piece of OER and see what you think.
Thanks, Cheryl. So there's been a lot of activity in the chat. Lindsay commented that UAGC uses an exclusive access model, so resources are charged concurrent with tuition, but are a separate fee. So we are certainly interested in increasing OER to remove these fees where possible. Thanks for being here, Cheryl. And there's a lot of interest in your PowerPoint. People would like the PowerPoint slides. You have so many great resources on there. I would like them too. I could make really good use of this. William said, if one uses CC material and then changes it, is it common to then make it ND after you get your product? That doesn't seem fair.
So I warn faculty that it's really important when choosing a Creative Commons license to make sure you really want to stick with that license. You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. Any of the content that was previously released will stay under the previous license. As far as oh, I see what the question is. Excuse me. You can adapt other people's content, like take it from a CC BY to a CC BY NCND, for example, and make the license more restrictive. It's just the way the licenses work. There are pros and cons to having more restrictive licenses. It does make it more difficult for downstream users to remix and reuse.
And I have a question about, are these resources generally accessible? Because that's important, right? When we're choosing resources for our courses.
Right. That's a great question. So in terms of accessibility, the BC Campus Open Collection has a tag on all of the books that they've certified as accessible. So that's a good place to go to check for the accessibility of a particular open textbook. I was at a textbook affordability conference last week where someone from the bookstore community was telling me that metadata have been developed to indicate accessibility. And so we're going to work on a project to include that in the Pressbooks metadata and in the Open Textbook Library information. Because, yeah, accessibility is super important.
Yeah. And also one of the things that, as a faculty member, when I'm looking at textbook materials, of course, I want them to be as affordable as possible for students, but I always wonder about the quality of a free resource. So are these generally high quality resources? Are there quick and easy ways that we can, as faculty, evaluate the quality?
Yeah, so there are particular publishers of OER that do the same peer review process that commercial publishers use. OpenStax is one of them, and they list their reviewers in the books. There are reviews in various OER platforms like the Open Textbook Library. They are a 10 category rubric, so pretty extensive in terms of what what your peers who are teaching similar courses think of the material. And we do workshops around the country and then ask faculty to do a deep dive into the content and write these reviews. So I encourage checking the reviews. As I said, I offer recommendations to faculty. I try not to make quality judgments myself because I'm not the subject matter expert, and the faculty member is the best person to judge whether something will work for their class. I see the question about accessibility and what does that really mean? So in terms of accessibility for people with disabilities, the BC campus checks for that. So things like, does it have the alt text? Does it display or read well in screen readers? So you're right, there are lots of different ways to talk about accessibility, but in particular, this is talking about people who are blind or have low vision. A lot of the digital textbooks will come in the EPUB format, which our Disability Resource Center tells me is much more accessible for people with visual issues than, say, a PDF. So the rise in digital course materials, they say, has really cut down on the number of requests they get for delivering accessible textbooks to students. Oh, Shauna, thank you for putting the link to the OER toolkit there. And I tried to upload the slides to Whova, but there wasn't a way to do that. And I also tried to upload the slides to the chat, and there wasn't a way to do that. So please feel free to email me, and I'll just send you a copy of the slides. Like I said, they're licensed CC BY, so feel free to reuse them in your own context.
Were there any other questions? We have about 2 minutes left. I did paste into the chat a link to a survey so that you can nominate TLC presentations for conference awards and share your feedback on your conference experience. And if there aren't any other questions, Cheryl did put her email in the chat. So if you are interested in those slides, you can certainly email her, or interested in following up for more information. I want to say thank you very much to Cheryl Casey, and thank you to the audience for your participation in today's session.